It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Yo, man. Boom is Rusty. Welcome, everybody, to the Public Access Podcast, the podcast here on the Quantum Global Broadcasting Network, QGBN, with other great shows such as When the Gloves Come Off, the Thinking Man's Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is It with Lizzie and Saved by the Ben, sponsored by Stoner Eats Productions, Fred Ben Savage as Fuck, Hypnosis is Great, Hardcore Comedy, and Sock'emUp.org. You guys, this is my second podcast today. Things are a little different from my Thursday, but we're going with this podcast right now. So that's good. That's good. We got it. We're going. We're on a roll here today. So I'm going to bring in my special guest right here, right now. Right here, right now, we have Stewart Brodian, who can probably hear me right now. I don't know when the sound cuts in. So I try to make it a little slower when I do the actual part, but when he gets here, he gets here. And it's how it is. So apparently, so you guys, let me tell you about some other stuff. So you guys know about what am I going to try to sell you on? What kind of stuff? What kind of stuff? You guys want to get hypnotized? Do you need to get hypnotized? You should hit me up. You can just go into the show notes. You can cut a hold of me. I'll hypnotize you. I'll hypnotize you until Stewart gets here. I think there might be some issue, but I'll hypnotize you. You can get hypnotized for a lot of things. You can get hypnotized to think that there's no space here. We're just going right into it. But you can also get hypnotized for a lot of other things. It goes well beyond not smoking, losing weight. A lot. Man, I hope things work here. It says joining. So I hope that's what's working. But yeah, you guys. So thank you again for being here up here on the Public Access Podcast. Well, before you even get into it, what you should do is pause it for a second, hit like, hit subscribe, get the little bell ding, bell ding ding ding. Oh, dude, there we go. I think we have Stewart. I think we might have him. He might be here. I've had this happen too, where the sound doesn't go. So it could be something with that. But that was my Saved by the Bell for that Saved by the Ben shout out there. Anybody Saved by the Bell fans? We probably have some. We probably have some Saved by the Bell fans. But you guys know how things work. It's good old Fred. I got some, is that shadow or I got some armpit saturation on my shirt? I don't care. It's kind of warm and I can't go outside because we have the red sky of death right now from Canada, and they're gall darn trees coming down here and taking our gerbs. It's okay. I hope I can get Stewart. Maybe I can text him. Be like, yo, dude, everything okay, man? See if I can text him here. See if I can go, do you need me to start this over? Hey, oh man. Do you understand the words that come out of my mouth? Do you need me to start this over? Okay, so that's been sent. So maybe, man, maybe I shouldn't have put him in that waiting room. But you guys are getting all kinds of content here with old Rusty. I swear there's a guest coming on. I swear it's not just a made up person. Maybe I can try calling him on my phone. Maybe that'll work. See what happens through the thing. It's just dead air. Like, hey, do you need me to start this over? Do you want me to? Okay, yeah, I'll start this over, I guess. And do you need a new link? Okay, I'll leave it up. Yeah. All right. Okay, so maybe he's coming back. Oh, there. Okay, he signed off. Usually you have to start your computer over. That's what I've had to do a number of times here. So you never know what's going to happen on the podcast. You might just get a rant from old Rusty Diamond here, the Thursday afternoon rant about, things. So, but yeah, I'm happy to get Stewart on there. He ended up being a wacky availability here, an anomaly of a Thursday afternoon recording slot opened up. And yeah, Stewart, I saw a post that he had, and I was like, I should get this guy on. This guy sounds like he'd be someone I need to talk with. So lo and behold, I did that, and he's here somewhere in the world, in the universe. But yeah, So I'll probably put a thing like, just start the podcast in like 13 minutes and you don't need to listen to Rusty unless you are. If you guys are listening here, put in the comments hardcore, because you're a hardcore listener. Then I know who my real people are. Type in hardcore and then put your name. Be like, hardcore Billy, because we know Billy's hardcore. And there we go. We have him. Oh no, and I can't hear him yet. Let's see. We're getting close. We're getting close. But he is here. I feel this is like the best introduction. I wish I had an introduction this length when I go to a wrestling match. And they just start I've definitely had technical difficulties on many things, so I know what it's like. I know what technical difficulties are, and I've had it where I've had guests on and I couldn't get my computer audio to work, and it happens. It's all part of the game.
Hello.
There we go. I can hear you now, but I can't see you. So we're halfway there. But if I can hear you, that's a good start.
You can see me?
No, I can't see you. Let me see if I can ask to start video. Maybe that'll help. But I can hear you, and since it's a podcast, it should be a good start. Oh, there you go. And can you flip your phone like on a side? And we're set. I can hear you. I can see you. And now I lost you.
Oh no. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Maybe you can put it back up the way it was. Just leave it like that. We got that. We know that works there, and so it's okay. I'm cool with that. That works. If that's there, I like it. So Thank you for being here. I'm sorry there was some technical difficulties, but
That's okay.
yeah,
Here I am, Stewart Brodian, musician, composer, vocalist, recording artist, actor, celebrity impersonator, the Howard Stern guy, uh, movie maker, TV host, radio host, TV show maker, artist, and world traveler. Have I missed anything?
probably. You didn't get to say guest on the Public Access podcast, which is what's up.
Most
But
important, of course.
right. But you are okay. So you said something, and you said movie maker, and my mind went to Windows Movie Maker because I used it so much, and it's embarrassing sometimes to say that, but it was a loyal dear friend of mine. And how, I guess let's start off with that. How have you evolved with technological advances in making doing editing of sorts, or any kind of work of that, of editing music, editing your voice, editing video?
When it comes to the technical stuff, I always leave it up to the experts. I don't do anything technical. With the movies and short films I've made and such, I may have done some camera work, but I do absolutely nothing with the editing. Recently, about a year or two ago, I released a film called COVID Thoughts, and I shot it just as the shutdown was ending. And it was just an idea, just clips of me going about my day during the shutdown and just talking about whatever came to my mind, thus the name Thoughts. And I sent it all to my video editor, and he's the one who edited it. And without my asking, he has my music on file, so he used my own music as background. So written, directed, produced, blah, 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 all by me, except for the editing.
You know what? That's the best spot. If that's how I would be the happiest for anything that I do, being able to do everything except for the editing. Editing, I'm terrible at, and I know there's people who are way better than I am. And like you, there's a smart move.
For some people, it's easier for them to shoot a film when they know how they're going to edit it. For people like me, well, maybe not people like me, but for me personally, I don't want that concentration. I just want to shoot all the film. I mean, it helps for me to have an idea and such. And there have been some times where I've made some mistakes shooting some scenes. My TV pilot, for example, the camera is pointed up at a person who's sitting down at a restaurant, where it should have been upward looking down at them. But that was just my misinterpretation of a famous scene from a movie. But the person that edited it managed to make it work.
So, I mean, so that's something very positive, having someone, it's a different filter. And plus, I think editing, being able to look within it and not feel like you're able to give something away and not just be hurt that someone wants to change my stuff, or like, if you can't change, this is a beautiful masterpiece and I know everything is perfect, and being able to let go of that.
I have nothing but respect for people that can handle all of that. I've worked with at least one person like that.
Yeah, there's a few here and there. And so then, where were you during the shutdown? I always got to watch what I say with that. What were you in a state where everything was very shut down?
Yes, I'm right here in Pennsylvania, and it's pretty much the same as the rest of the country. I was lucky. The type of job that I do as a day job, I'd like to say I live in a mansion, drive a Rolls Royce. No, I deliver pizza.
And so then that was thriving.
Well, it was interesting. I had to keep a sheet of paper on my dashboard stating that I was at work during this time. Other restaurants, other like sit-down restaurants and diners, they all shut down during the shutdown. So all the business spilled over into places like Domino's and Pizza Hut and whatever. And some people that I work with, they decided to leave the store because they did not want to risk bringing any diseases home to their family, and I can understand that. So me and the other remaining people, we took on extra hours. I went from about 35 hours a week to like over 70 a week.
Oh, and so
Yeah.
I mean, and the roads were pretty empty for that.
Yeah. Something I posted on my Facebook page, like the first Saturday night that the shutdown happened, I was in an area where there's some bars, and usually it's just crowded with people. And I'm sitting there, and I feel I'm standing there like I'm the last person on earth.
It definitely felt that way in some of the places, and I was okay with it. I was doing all right. Having space, dead areas were okay by me, and so I worked for Domino's. I was a delivery driver for Domino's for a good amount of time. Has that part ever gone into something you thought about creating with your pizza delivery experience?
Well, when I wrote parts of my TV pilot, Double or Nothing, some of the scenes actually were born out of some actual conversations. Where do us TV writers get our inspiration? We get it from life. That's where we get it from.
Right.
And one of the things that the boss says to me in the pilot was something my real boss had said to me at my shop. And I elaborated on it. I went into detail. I realized the opinion that some people have of pizza delivery drivers, and it's not the most positive image. I can understand, because this is definitely not a job where you need a college education. But what I think the public doesn't understand is that these people do have their act together. I mean, you need some intelligence to figure out how to read a map, for example. And I've been doing this job long before anybody had little GPS things in their pockets.
Yep. Yeah, you got to know there was usually a map right by where you go and you grab the pizzas. I worked in a few different pizza joints, and there's big map on the wall, and I got to know every little nook and cranny, know how to always take right turns everywhere, like set up the route that way if I have multiple deliveries.
Where the cops hide out and so forth.
Right. You know what? The cops really did not. I swear the pizza delivery guys can get away with anything. I don't know.
Sometimes we do.
Because
sometimes we don't.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, I've seen people, even like when I'm just not working and I see someone in a pizza thing, I see them flying down the road and right by a cop, and I just think, well, I hope someone understands, this food needs to get there because it's going to be, so it can be hot. So, but yeah, I've always, I don't know. And I very fondly looked back on my days of delivering pizzas. I would hang out with all the people that I worked with. It was an interesting time. One person ended up being a weirdo, but what can you do?
That's life.
Right.
I get that. Half jokingly, I call this job the perfect field trip for any sociology student. Because it takes you right into people's homes. Usually if you go to one of the poorer homes, maybe that they live on welfare, they got to clean up once a month when welfare comes by to check up on them. But, me, the pizza guy, nobody gives a hoot. Nobody really cares or thinks that I'm anything important. So, they come to the door dressed shabbily or whatever. And, that's when I get to see people as they really are. And, people think, oh, you always meet hot girls and you meet up with them after work. Guess what? Yes, that happens. But that's the good part, let's call that. Yeah. Let me get serious for a second. There's some other things that I see that I don't appreciate. Black, white, rich, poor, it doesn't matter. it seems to me everybody treats their animals and their children like dirt. And sometimes what bothers me the most is when I show up to somebody's home, the place reeks of the stuff.
Of dog pee or cat pee?
No, of marijuana.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And there's a little kid walking around. That is what bothers me the most.
Yeah. That's
Like I said, it was the perfect field trip for a sociology student, and I'm not really joking when I say that.
I was.
Yeah, well, of course. Well, you smell that too, of course, and you worry about the living conditions, even if there aren't children there, just the health conditions of the people living there, whomever they are. I
Right.
can tell you one thing though. They say out of every bad experience comes something positive. For the longest time, a lot of my credit cards were maxed out, and I was just having lots and lots of trouble trying to get my balances down. During a shutdown, working twice as many hours, and no place to go to spend my money. In less than a year, I cleared out 3 credit cards.
That's awesome.
I'm working 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, and 1 half day and 1 day off. You remember when you were in high school, you read about the muckrakers and the stories they wrote about the packing towns? That's all I could think of. Oh, well, that early 1900s book writers, they were nicknamed the muckrakers because they exposed all the terrible things in the meat packing industry and the food packing industry and such. And, for a lot of people, it was just work and sleep, complete misery. And that's what it was like for me for several months, work and sleep, work and sleep. But then again, what else would I do? I mean, usually, like after work, I'll go out to a club and play guitar at an open mic or something, or the local casino has bands playing every night, or they used to. So that's where I spend my money on sodas or a bucket of fries or just the gasoline to get there. And I don't have cable. I haven't had cable since about 2009.
Don't need
I had
it.
nothing on television to watch. So I just worked, came home, slept, got up, went back to work half a day, and then my day off, I do laundry and sleep. As the expression goes, I haven't any regrets because, as I said, I cleared out 3 credit cards, and there's a convention coming up in Las Vegas in a few months where you can buy straight from the dealers wholesale. And I got all these credit cards with all this credit, so I can buy tons of stuff wholesale and resell it on eBay and make myself a halfway decent profit.
Ooh, what kind of stuff are you looking?
And anything, clothing, jewelry, utensils, what have you. Just buy it in bulk.
Yeah. So do you do that right
and
now as well? I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I pick up things here and there, or I've accumulated things here and there over the years, and I've been selling it on eBay. And that's anything from albums to clothing that I bought and never bothered to wear. Yeah.
Are you selling anything breakable? Are you shipping anything breakable?
Well, if it is, I'm very careful in shipping it.
So can I give you, let me give you, I was going to say, let me give you a tip if you need shipping material, because that became the most expensive thing that I had. My biggest expense was shipping material. If you go to an art dealer, like an art gallery, they are just wanting to give this stuff away for free, like a whole bunch of, like bubble wrap and packing stuff and boxes. So if you ever need
here at
that,
the radio station that I work at, we get CDs sent in all the time. So there's always a garbage can full of padded mailers.
beautiful. Okay. So, so you're at a radio station, and so you have people sending in CDs. So is it? So I don't know. I'm not sure about this. It is the
WDIY Allentown, 88.1 FM, listener supported public radio.
Oh, cool. Okay. So, so are you there then for the drive? The is there like a telethon or something at some point in the year?
We have a couple of fund drives during the year, and every DJ on the air, you got to do your pitch and so forth.
Sure.
I've been here since August of 1995.
Oh, okay. And so people are still sending in CD. I guess back then, the 95, maybe CDs. I guess they weren't really burnable then, or maybe they were. But so since 1995, and so I mean, do you have people that are just sending stuff in, trying to get their name out, or is this
Sure.
like?
Lots of people send their CDs. We're on subscriber lists to distributor companies. And sometimes me personally, if I don't meet with a band, somebody will send me something. And then there's bands that I kept in touch with over the years and such, and new bands and whatever. I've often said anything that gets into my hands is guaranteed airplay. Now, I realize radio is not as significant these days as it was 20 years ago, because everything is on the internet. But then again, so are the radio stations. They are also on the internet.
Right.
And
I
as far
could
as people
listen.
doing their own, yeah,
Sorry.
as far as people doing their own podcasts or their own playlists, sometimes it helps to have a personality to go along with the music. Maybe the kids today would not understand that because they didn't grow up in that atmosphere. Anybody who's doing their podcast and they're listening in, throw in a little bit of yourself, a little bit of humor, a little bit of trivia. This is the latest song by so and so, but years ago he was with this other band called such and such, and let me play the two songs back to back. Things like that.
Yeah.
It gives you and your show a personality, and that's what some people find the appeal in.
Right. And I mean, if you've been at this station for a while, I'm sure that you have,
28 years.
Yeah.
It's the
I wasn't going to
longest I've
think. I
ever
was
held
like,
a
oh
job.
God, it's not that. Okay. Yeah. The 28 years. I mean,
And the longest I ever held the job was over at the Pizza Hut, and I'm still there after 30 years in the same
so you,
store.
wow. Okay. And so you've been doing both. And so where is the crossover? Where's the mix on that Venn diagram between delivering pizzas and being on the radio? Or is there?
Is there a crossover? I mean, hardly anybody recognizes me from my voice. Why Allentown, as opposed to 695, please. Whatever.
$6.95 is a pretty good deal for that one, for whatever that may be. And
But I don't. I know before the interview I asked you not to ask your question about my personal life, but let me just go into some brief detail. I don't hang out with the DJs after work. I don't hang out with my coworkers at the pizza place after work. I hate to use the expression lone wolf because of the negative connotations behind it, but in some ways that's kind of the life I lead. Proud or ashamed? I don't have an answer for that question. And that's just me as I am. I'm one of those people that tend to go at their own pace, which makes some people uncomfortable.
right. And did I ask you a personal question? Is that what happened?
No, I just went into that on my own because you
Okay.
mentioned that you hung out with your coworkers at Domino's.
Gotcha. Yeah. But I mean, that was 23 years ago, 22 years ago, something like that. It's been a little while too. And but yeah, I mean, so then during the shutdown, I mean, it was kind of then business as usual. Were the casinos open then? You said you were going to casinos. Casinos were totally closed.
Yes.
Wow. And so, okay. And then you
And also
at the radio
station. At the radio station, during the shutdown, we had to be germ conscious here too. So practically none of the DJs had any shows. Everything went by automation.
Oh,
3 or 4 people ran the station, but the computer has a lot of music pre-programmed into it. There's jazz music, there's classical, there's pop music, and so forth. So the computer is pre-programmed to play these certain types of songs during certain hours. And there's nobody announcing the songs, just, either public service announcements or maybe some, this is a non-commercial station, so we don't have advertisers, we have underwriters.
right. And
So the underwriting acknowledgments were pre-programmed into the computers as well.
so were you not in there then at that point during the
That's right.
yikes?
Strictly work and sleep. Day off,
So
laundry, and sleep.
so then what was it like when they said, "Hey, studio's back up"?
Boom, I was there.
First day, have your I don't know, pen in handy, backpack ready, your lunch. But I think you said you were an evening, is what I saw, right? Like 11 to 1 or 9 to 11
I
or
worked 2
something.
shifts here at WDIY. I just got off my Thursday afternoon shift from 1 to 4, and Saturday evenings from 11 p.m. until 1 in the morning.
Okay. So I guess that's not too much different of a time. And plus, with the pizza pizza hours are probably some of the best hours to work, as far as if you have other things that you're doing, or if you go out and you're gonna go to a mic and bring your guitar and go play. And so when you're out doing that, when you're out going to go play, do you have a number of places you like to go, or do you have, one place, or do you just go wherever the wind takes you to strum?
I'm sure there are a few places that I favor, but for the most part, yeah, wherever the wind takes me, or if I hear about a new open mic, boom, I'm there.
Boom.
I've often said I'm never happy unless I'm on stage.
That's cool. And there's so what so are you singing and playing the guitar? Are you playing the guitar, or is it acoustic, electric?
It's acoustic guitar. I play and sing. There's also, if there's a piano there, I'll play that too. I'll play and sing. I'll mix it up, known standards or obscure songs, and of course, songs that I've written. I'm proud of the fact that some of the songs I've written had been used in movies. One was an independent film called Affairs, which was made locally here in the Lehigh Valley. Zeke Zelker was the producer. Hello, Zeke. And another one, it was sort of a major release. It was called College Debt. It's about these 2 guys that cook up this scheme to make money to pay off their college debt. It had one of the original Village people in it. And it's also the last film made by Celeste Holm, who was a starlet in the 1950s.
Oh.
I don't know if I can say starlet anymore because we're supposed to be politically correct. We can't say actor, actress, actor, but I'm out of the old days. Actor is male, actress is female.
You're on this show. You can say whatever is fine. Whatever is fine by me. And so, I mean, what was that like to go and be able to see where they put your music? And like, when you wrote that song, did you have that sort of?
Oh, no. It was an old song that I'd written years before. There's a club in New York City, a jazz club called Birdland, started by Larry Bird, which has been called the cornerstone of jazz. Not Larry Bird. Was it Larry? I forget, but the jazz artist's last name is Bird. And I was there at an open mic one night, and I played the song. And after I got off stage, someone came up to me and he said that he and his friends are working on a film, and that the song would fit in perfectly with a scene. So he said, "Do you have a CDR you could send me?" And I said, "Yeah." I didn't. I lied. Well, they say you got to lie in this business.
You had him on the
Yeah, I
hook.
thought I could beat the odds. But the next morning, I called an acquaintance of mine who had a studio in his basement. I explained the situation to him, and I'm very thankful that he was able to get me in the studio that night. We recorded it in 3 hours. It took us an hour to mix. And the next morning, I sent the guy out the CDR, and they used it. It wasn't a major release, wasn't, and I don't know if it was a success or a flop. I've never seen the film, but
You haven't got
I
to see
can
that
say
scene
that
even?
I've had my music used in a film.
You didn't even see the scene?
No, I didn't.
That did
Well,
not interest you?
It's called College Debt. It stars Celeste Holm as grandmama or grandma, and find it. Good luck to you.
Grandma,
It,
Larry Bird or Larry Johnson.
it's a feeling of success, you know, when you something that you do is used for something. And folks, it doesn't have to be music. Let me give you one really good example. I was on this baking binge for a while. I like to bake cakes, and I decorate them, and I bring them to work. One day, one of my lady coworkers told me, she asked me if I could stop bringing them in because she was on a diet and she didn't need the temptation. But I had just baked 2 beautiful cakes. I just decorated them. Now, you remember I said I worked on eBay? You can sell the arts and crafts that you make, and they also sell foods, like, you know, prepackaged foods. Suppose baking is an art. So I put the 2 cakes up for auction on eBay, and somebody bought them. Someone on the West Coast.
You shipped it
And
across
just by
country.
coincidence, yes. And just by coincidence at work, they were throwing out this box, and it just happened to be the right size box. I put saran wrap over the top one, and I slid them into the box. It fit perfectly. I mailed it off. The money that they bid on it was just about enough to pay for the postage, and they gave me positive feedback.
That's amazing. That's to be able to have, someone way over there that is going to get use out of a cake that otherwise would have,
Yeah,
maybe
thrown
ended
away.
up. Yeah. So what do you
Food that I
do?
make. I have no training as a chef or anything, but I made food and somebody paid money for it.
So does that make you a chef?
So I guess I could sort of understand the delight of some master chef in some high class restaurant that people pay money for what he does. Or if you want this on an even smaller scale, well, let's say you had a kid and you fed the kid and the kid enjoyed what you made for them. I mean, that's not being a rock star. That's just being normal.
And I don't think enough people really get to enjoy that or really get to acknowledge that you make something for your kid and they like it. How important that is and how cool that can be just in itself.
John Lennon, in one of his last interviews, you know, it was funny when he mentioned that he baked a loaf and he fed it to his kid and then be all eaten. And then, like, well, gee, don't I get a gold record on knighthood? Nothing, he said. The rewards of housework, he said.
Yeah. And I mean, it seems like it's an all right thing. And so then the cakes you're making, what are you making? I mean, are you or what are you putting on top of them? What are you decorating them with?
It was icing, and then these little tubes that you squirted out so you can make a design or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was just being creative. I wasn't trying to prove anything, and they weren't perfect, mind you. They weren't perfect. You know, some of the edges might be a little burned, or more often than not, in the center of the cake would be this little volcano.
Yeah, that's the surprise. That's the molten surprise there sometimes.
I maybe I baked it too hot, too short, or whatever. But well, I would just pat it down with a knife and just cover it with icing.
Yep. That's what the burn parts are for. That's what that's what icing's for, to cover up those little
Cover up the cracks and the burn marks and everything.
they as Oh, am I blanking on his name right now? The Happy Little Accidents. The what's that painter guy's name right now? The Joy of Painting guy. I can't think of his name, but
Bob,
Bob Ross. Thank you.
yes,
Yeah, Bob Ross. Happy Little Accidents.
yes, yes.
And so, okay, so behind you is that it looks like a map, and I can't tell if that's like a piece of ribbon or a plane or something. But you said world traveler. I see a lot of
No, that's a
dots.
map. That's a map of the world, and the little dots are map pins, which shows places from where we've heard of. Since we're on the internet, we hear from people from all over the world.
And so every time that they call in, you have the pins ready to go, and
Yeah, every time we call in or hear correspondence or whatever, and used to be the biggest deal in the world if you heard from someone in a different country. Now you carry the world in your pocket. That's just amazing.
which is is pretty wild. I was just talking with one of my other co-hosts about this, and it's like it doesn't matter. You could be, in some other country. Yeah, you got, I don't know, uh, India. Let's say India. They
Yeah,
love you over there, and
yeah,
it's like, how would you have found them, or how would they have found you otherwise? It's just
exactly. I mean, with my TV pilot when I first made it back in '09, I think it was. I was looking up some stuff on the internet, and I would send it out to anybody who would play it. And there's a channel 44 in Uganda, that's in Africa. And I sent them a DVD, and they played it. Back then, and this is 2009, so this is 14 years ago, biggest deal in the world to be played in another country. But now they can just download it from anywhere, from anything that I put it up on, and any country, anywhere, any TV station can play it. In fact, well, I guess we don't need TV stations anymore because everything's on the internet. So,
but some people still like to turn on the TV. Some people still like, I don't know, when I'm driving in my car, I still turn on the radio. I like to kind of know what's going on. I don't know.
well, I know, but everything's on the internet. The car that I bought recently, you can hear your telephone through the dashboard. So if you just click on something on the internet, it comes through your dashboard. And wash my mouth out with soap. They don't need a radio anymore. There was an article I read where they're still going to keep AM radios in newer cars. It's I'm a master in a dying field, I suppose.
Well, I feel that in a lot of things right now, and I'm not a master, but uh, and I mean, there's websites that you can play literally any radio station in the world. Just one website has every single radio station anywhere at the touch of a finger.
As we're talking, I'm wondering what are the future of podcasts?
Well, because I don't know. Like with so much stuff. I mean, if I really wanted to, I could hang up my stuff, put it away. I could go in, get my voice, and put it on some AI thing, and let AI just run automatically forever. Give it all the prompts and stuff it would need, and let it just
Exactly.
run autonomously. And
It's like that computer generated woman. I mean, all I would have to do is just speak into a microphone, record whatever it is I'm going to say, and then tap up a picture of a male human, and then the computer would move its mouth and such to mimic me. And there's always something coming along that'll make everything popular outmoded or outdated. I mean, what you're doing right now with me here, if I were sitting in a room next to you right now, well, that wouldn't be much different than the cable TV public access channels back in the 1980s.
so yeah, I'm a big public access TV guy. So
And my TV show, Brodian's Basement, is seen on public access in a few states here in this country and one overseas.
Do you go to the studio to work on the stuff, or is it you can just do it all from your house and send it in on a, I don't know, an email through Google Drive or something?
It's sent electronically. I show independent short films and music videos on my show, and I record the introductions on my phone, and I send the introductions to my editing
Hello.
guy, and then he edits it between the short films and music videos. And then he emails me a link, and I send the link out to different TV stations, and that's how I get my show around.
I
There's a lot
like
of money in postage and DVD costs.
Right. And I remember that too. And I remember having to bring, a certain number of DVDs down to the station every month. I'd have to bring at least 2 down to the station every month. And then, I mean, yeah. So then I'd go in there until, I don't know,
Engineer.
until I left. So that was until 2018, 2019. I was still going up to the station and trying to produce stuff, but like the call-in shows were the ones that always were interesting to me because there was always wild stuff on there of, like there was this one guy, if you look him up, his name was Jim Spagg, Spagg, and he was in Portland, Oregon, and then he was in, I want to say Atlanta and maybe somewhere else, but he'd do the craziest stuff you can imagine. And since it's public access TV, you can do that. And eventually he did something that made him, they had to shut him down. But up until then, yeah, he found out what he couldn't do on public access TV. And, but he would have a call-in thing, but it would have his home phone number on there. So he'd have people just, this guy that's doing all this wacky stuff, people could just call him up and I don't know. So do you have people like that calling into your show at all, or?
Well, no, but one of my shows now, since it's public access, it has to be non-commercial. But on one of my shows, I had a free giveaway. Years and years ago, I used to run an independent record label called Mountain Records. One of the releases was a cassette which compiled 2 songs each from 5 bands from New Jersey. And recently on my cable TV show, I said I had a bunch of these extras, and I would play it in the background while I'm doing introductions to the music videos. And I said, for anybody who wants one, it's free. Just contact me in care of my show, and I'll send you one, no charge. Somebody contacted me. Sent it out to them. They loved it. I mean, at least it gives me the peace of mind that I do have an audience, and that cable TV still has an audience.
Yep. That's a fan for life.
Yeah.
That's
Recently in Philadelphia, the PhillyCam, there was a meeting about the significance of cable television and such. And when I corresponded with the guy who contacted me from my show, I sent a copy of my correspondence to the station's programmer, concrete proof that cable TV still makes the difference.
absolutely. And public access TV was YouTube before YouTube was YouTube. And it's always that there's such a strong, I don't know, that like the fact that you can get people in Uganda watching your show, and it can be whatever you want. And it's literally, besides doing one thing, you can do whatever you want on the show, and it's your show, and have at it.
I prefer to keep it clean.
Are you a clean, all your shows are
Yeah.
very clean?
Yeah, I mean, I know that I gained my most notoriety as a Howard Stern celebrity impersonator, but what I do on stage as Howard Stern is a lot different than what I do on camera on my cable TV show. And it's not even so much censorship issue. It's just good taste versus bad taste. And I think I learned about life a lot from when I was 12. You know, if you said something dirty and everybody's like, yeah, that's pretty much people's attitude. I mean, some people enjoy the dirty stuff, and that's that audience. But for the most part, people just want to be entertained. They don't want to be offended. They want to be entertained.
Right. And they don't want to be talked down to like they're stupid or,
Yeah.
you know.
I think today's humor relies too much on shock value as opposed to actual humor. You know, it's the shock value of, oh, they had the audacity to do that or to say that, as opposed to actual humor. In my TV pilot, there's like a commercial for the TV show, and it's a restaurant commercial. Somewhere in the commercial, see an Elvis Presley impersonator next to a Howard Stern impersonator, king of rock and roll, next to the king of all media. And in the restaurant commercial, they both say, where you can eat like a king. See, there's nothing offensive about that.
Right.
It's simple wordplay. People get the joke. An even better example, my pilot episode was a trilogy. And in the first part of the trilogy, it ends where you see a Marilyn Monroe impersonator, and she's singing "Happy Birthday, Mr. President," and you see the bubbles being blown, like it looks like from a bubble machine. Camera pulls back, and you see the bubbles are being blown by an Ozzy Osbourne impersonator with a little jar of bubbles. But at the time I wrote that, the Osbournes was still on the air on MTV.
Okay.
And the coming attractions for the show, there was a segment where Mr. Osbourne is saying to his wife that, you know, he can't have bubbles on the stage because he's the Prince of Darkness. So everybody says, you know, bubbles, we can't have bubbles. And there I have an Ozzy Osbourne impersonator blowing bubbles. You get the joke.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Did I say anything offensive? No. Did I say anything sexually connotative? No. Did I say anything, not politically? No. I simply just took current events, applied some wordplay to it or some humor, and I think people are afraid to do that because they're afraid of being called lame.
it's a good point.
Well, I say, so what?
Nothing wrong with
I
lame.
can do what I want, and I get away with it, and people enjoy it. I'm living proof that you don't have to be offensive. And I wish the rest of the world would get that 3 of the 6 skulls.
Yeah. And it seems, yeah, there's, I mean, it's the same with a lot of things. You can only, I mean, there has to be a reason for stuff. Like you can't keep trying to top something when gets so crazy. Like I can put this into pro wrestling, I guess. I mean, you can get a ton of crowd reaction doing a headlock on a guy for 3 minutes, but then you got some guy that will go and jump off of a ladder onto a bunch of barbed wire and glass, and then
the old Jerry
get like, hey, cool.
Well, everybody's afraid to do some of the old style jokes. You know, you can't say ethnic jokes. You can't say misogynistic, anti-woman jokes anymore. The only thing you can say, I guess, is dirty humor, and I think that's all they can rely on. They just don't know any better. I mean, I'm glad Two Broke Girls is off the air because that show just really pushed the envelope too much. I've tried watching the Kardashians. I wasn't able to follow because they kept bleeping out everything, and I don't remember seeing anybody smile on that show. I asked a coworker, how do you watch this garbage? And she says, well, because I'm glad it's not my family. I guess that's the audience that it has. I don't know. I mean, I've often joked around. I said, if I want to watch a TV show where people are backstabbing each other, I would go watch a rerun of Mama's Place.
Sure. And I mean, in everything you listen to and watch and whatever, your subconscious brain doesn't know the difference if it's joke or whatever the Kardashians is. Like it doesn't know, like it thinks that that's part of what your reality is, and it's like the negativity of it all is going into
Yeah.
your consciousness, subconsciousness.
We've begun to accept this as the normal, and that's a very sad statement on society. MTV's Real World, the first season was more or less a complete disaster. The second season, which took place in Southern California, they had things more together. And here's what I like best about the second season of MTV's Real World. You got to see the cast members grow as people. One fellow went a little too far with one girl, and they kicked him out. And the production staff decided to let the cast members choose their own new roommate. I don't think that's ever been done before in any reality show, not before, not since.
I don't think so either. And
Having people show responsibility as mature individuals. And there was one of the girls. There were two girls named Beth, but the not so skinny one, Beth, she grew as a person. She was always shy and such, but at the end of that season, they all went to play paintball, and she won. She was the winner. And that was the beauty of the second season of MTV. You saw at least one person grow as a person. What's wrong with showing that?
I mean, in its basic form, it's a story arc, and it's what everyone wants to see deep down when anyone tells a story. There has to be some reason to root for someone and not just have an antagonist or a group of antagonists.
Sure. And just as controversial as Two Broke Girls was a show called Big Bang Theory. And just by chance, I came across the first 5 seasons on DVD, so I binged watched it. And even though you get to aside from the dirty jokes and such, you saw the characters develop in that. And to me, that's part of what sometimes makes good programming. I mean, the characters in The Simpsons have stayed constant for well over 20 years, but the character named Howard, for example, in Big Bang Theory, in the first few seasons, he's this, sleazy womanizer, but by the end of the 5th season, he finally marries his girlfriend. See him grow as a character.
Yeah. And like The Simpsons, I didn't even think about that. I mean, it's been, however many years now, 30 some.
So that's
34 years.
4 years.
Yeah, no aging, no growth, just same old formulaic jokes.
Well, that's the beauty of cartoons. The characters don't have to age. They can stay the same forever.
But I mean, they should grow though at some point. But I mean, if the audience isn't calling for it.
The Flintstones, they grew as characters. I was reading an analysis of this. When the cartoon first started, it was just Fred and Wilma, Betty and Barney. Then comes Pebbles. Then comes Bam Bam. Then comes Dino. Then and one analogy I read about it, it's like the next season where we get to see Fred coping with being a new father. That's where the character grew. I think that's part of what made the show popular, is that it developed, and the addition of new characters, the Great Gazoo and the Hat Rocks and Creepleys. It added variety to it, so I think things like that can add to the popularity. Getting back to my TV show, when I was talking about things like with stereotypes and such, this isn't part of it yet, but it's what I plan for once the show gets into full production, Double or Nothing. It's going to take place at a cable TV station, and there's going to be 3 of the characters will be these 3 geeks, these technicians. One Asian, one Hispanic, and one African American. But they all dress, act, talk, and look exactly the same. The only difference, if you pardon the expression, is their skin color. Whereas we keep seeing the same old stereotypes with the Asian being all, techno, and the black person being all I gots, and I get groove and type of thing, and so forth, and the hot blooded Mexican or whatever. No, they're going to be exactly the same. And I got that idea one time I was in Brooklyn, walking around, and I hear somebody talking with this really thick Brooklyn accent. I'm looking around, I can't see who it is. Finally, I saw the person who was speaking with a really thick Brooklyn accent. It was an Asian man. Okay? That kind of snapped me out of it. That kind of woke me up. That's one of the goals that I'm trying to achieve, or that I will try to achieve with my new show, Double or Nothing. I've already made a pilot episode, but I just want to, expand it into a full season. And not to sound like an advertisement, but yes, I do need investors.
So,
A
well,
lot less than
then,
$50,000.
oh, sure. So then, are you doing the casting then and finding?
I'm doing the casting. Many of the major parts have been cast, and I have some side parts that I've been casting. Locations have been scouted and secured. Now all we need is the finance. The guy who edits my TV show, he'll be the videographer and the editor. So I got the production staff, I got the actors, I have the locations. Just need the finance. I need to find someone who believes enough in the program to
Hopefully, one of
you
these
make your money
listeners.
from marketing. T-shirts and whatever.
Yeah. And so then, are you filming in Pennsylvania? Is that where?
For the most part, yes.
Yeah.
In the original pilot, it starts in Pennsylvania, but gradually progresses over to Brooklyn. The revamped version that we're working on will more than likely primarily take place in Philadelphia.
So,
But it's about a local actor who starts a comedy variety show on public access television using celebrity impersonators. And it mixes comedy with drama, and the comedy and drama comes from the main character, played by me, balancing career, a day job, and life itself.
so then, do you have a lot? I don't know? Do you have a lot of? I don't know if there'd be friends or acquaintances, the whole list of other
Oh yeah, well,
impersonators.
but we all network with each other, so I have an endless supply of talent.
And you can make some really odd combinations of people. That
Of
I mean,
course,
like you were saying with Ozzy Osbourne and
and Marilyn Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe together at the same point and same time. Where else can you do that?
Exactly. I mean, if you would see the pilot where I'm pitching the show, I would say to the program director at the cable TV station, imagine Groucho Marx meets Lou Costello.
See, and yeah,
I mean,
I like that.
just those words itself is funny. And you see what I just did? I made you laugh. I didn't say anything offensive or misogynistic or whatever, or nothing racial, nothing dirty, right?
And
Very
everyone
easy
has
to make
their
a
own
person laugh without doing
interpretation.
that stuff.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's not some in your face. This is the only way you can interpret this joke. It
Yeah.
was let your mind do it, and you're going to get to a spot. People are going to get to different spots, but it went.
And you can even throw in something intelligent. Last month, I did a stage reading of a short play that I did. I did it with other people reading their short plays. It's called Tyranny. Thomas Jefferson reacts to January 6th. I was playing Jefferson, and we see Thomas Jefferson reacting to the events of January 6th. He's then joined by Abraham Lincoln. Then they're joined by Franklin Roosevelt. Then they're joined by Barack Obama. Mixes in science fiction with reality, and they all discuss things pertaining to that from their points of view. And it wasn't a screaming match as you expect to see these days. They think drama is reality. No, it was just an intelligent conversation from their own points of view. And there is one slight little conflict of, if any, Jefferson owned slaves, Lincoln freed the slaves, so there's some slight commentary between the two of them. I showed this to a historian, a professional historian, and he said that's a good call. But it's not like I hate you and you hate this. No, it's not that kind of confrontation. Right. Lincoln points out during the conversation that there was a revolt of African Americans in 1831, whereas Jefferson says had my proposal to end slavery been adopted, there would have been no need for revolt. See, a simple, intelligent conversation.
Right. And I think conversation, especially intelligent conversation, is something that a lot of people now are afraid to embrace. And it seems that there's little gray area for a lot of discussion. And it's either I'm right or you're wrong.
Yeah,
There's
that
no
too.
getting to no yins yangs, none of that.
Plus, they're afraid of being taken out of context. Let me give you an example, something I discussed on another show. Black person goes on a talk show and says, all black neighbors are dangerous. Everybody says fact. White person goes on a talk show and says, all black neighbors are dangerous. Everybody says racist. Why? They both just said the exact same thing. Here's the difference. If someone from a group of people says something terrible about that group of people, that's their business. Someone from outside a group of people says something terrible about that group, doesn't matter if it's true or false. It will always be taken as an insult. More so if a white person says it about a black person. Why? Because Asians and Hispanics, for example, were not brought here as slaves. There weren't laws against teaching Asians and Hispanics how to read or write. There weren't laws against Asians and Hispanics owning property, things like that. So
Right.
if I call a Mexican lazy, it's not as bad as calling a black person lazy. You know what I'm saying?
Very much so. And
They're both offensive, but there's reasons why it's a bigger deal for one race as opposed to another. But this is what I just said. You just saw what I just said. I'm explaining something. This is what people are afraid to say. People are afraid to speak their mind. Well, a lot of it has to do with it isn't what you say, but how you say it. If you can present it in an intelligent form instead of trying to, like you said, come up like I'm right and you're wrong. And I'm sure there's plenty of people that will argue with good points against anything I just said just now, and I'd be willing to hear it.
I'd love for someone to say like, please tell me what your thing is, and we can at least, hear each other out. And,
Of course.
one of us might, we both see, like with the joke, like you tell about the Marx and who'd you say? I'm losing it. I'm losing my
Castro,
mind
Marx, and
today.
Costello?
And Costello. People are going to interpret it every such way you can think of, and
Sure.
it's all how everyone interprets it. And then that's what talking about it. If you're not talking about it, it's just everyone interprets it their way, and there's nothing that can progress. It's just stuck. It's either you're going to like this or you're not going to like it. And
Let me give you an example of what might be a closed-minded argument. Like if a black person says there's no hope for the black man because of all the racism and prejudice and he can't get a job if he wants one, a closed-minded person might say, oh yeah, what about a dark-skinned guy becoming president? Or what about a dark-skinned woman like Oprah coming out of a poor Chicago neighborhood, having her own network? But these are people who ignored certain things, and there's certain things you can't escape from no matter who you are, no matter how successful you are. And I want to point this out. Oprah Winfrey, I saw her as a guest on someone else's talk show, and we're talking about society. And she says she still hears it. Still hears, when are you going to quit acting white? There are people who will work against you, no matter who you are, no matter what you do. They're going to find something to try to work against you. How you deal with it? Sometimes you can deal with it, and sometimes you might be in a situation where you cannot deal with it. But I think at least the other side knows what the first side is up against. Not just white racists. Black communities up against other blacks who don't want them to because they don't feel it's proper. It's like you're not showing that you suffered enough. I heard about Chuck Berry when he started getting successful, instead of rallying behind him, a lot of the other blacks called him a sellout.
Which, yeah, I mean, it's
But he didn't give in. He didn't give up. You know, he kept touring and recording till his dying day. He kept enjoying his life. But, you know, there's some people who will give up, or some people will be forced to give up by some bad elements. And no, that's not black people. That's everybody, because there's plenty of times I was in a bar and the guy was talking about how good he was doing with some friends. And they started punching him, saying, "Quit being Jewish." These are white people. So you find that mentality in all skin colors.
yep.
Stop being an American. Maybe that's what some Arabs might say to each other. That's the kind of mentality, and you know, how you deal with it is how you deal with it. Whether you give in, whether you keep fighting, you change the atmosphere, or I'm sorry to say, sometimes the bad people win.
And then what happens then? I mean, they just hope the next
And that's
person
when you
does it
fail.
better. People can
Well,
learn from
that's
it.
when the first person fails, and a lot of good people of all races are lost. And there's people who work against you, even if, regardless of skin color. We've all heard stories about these different people who invented cars that didn't need gasoline, and something terrible would happen to them, or they
Yeah,
disappear.
Yeah, they all
And that has
accidentally,
nothing to do with religion or race.
yeah, they all accidentally shoot themselves in the back of the head 4 times. And or there was that
And
one
has nothing
guy,
to do with
who said, they poisoned me. It came out of, I think he,
yeah, that guy.
yeah. And yeah, there's been a
And that
number
had
of,
nothing to do with
yeah,
that had nothing to do with religion or race or gender or anything.
nope. That was
There
just,
are people out there who will work against you for whatever reasons. And I think that's one thing parents should explain to their kids, instead of saying things like, "Oh, just let them go figure it out for themselves," or "Let society handle it." If you're gonna have kids, you better know something about the world.
yeah. And know how to exist in it, even maybe not. I mean, I guess existing is succeeding in the world. Um,
I would say there's no shame in asking, but for some people there is shame in asking for advice. That's just the way some people are. But this Puerto Rican girl I worked with, she had this strange mentality, and a lot of people think like this, I guess, in that neighborhood, where first you get pregnant, and then you find a guy to feel sorry for you and then marry you. And I was trying to convince her, no, I was reminding her of the old nursery rhyme: first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes baby in a baby carriage. And after she left, I was discussing this with some of the other coworkers, some of whom were Puerto Rican. I said something that one girl said she's surprised I said that, the Puerto Rican girl, and said, like, you know, she was telling me there's nothing you can do with that mentality. And I said, yeah, but that kid's going to grow up without a father and end up blaming me for my skin color.
for
And,
doing absolutely nothing. And
you know, for letting a mom get pregnant without that having that, without first getting married and such. But these are mentalities in some neighborhoods, and it's not just black or Puerto Ricans. You know, you got the
Sure.
so-called white trailer parks. You know, you begging again? You know, that type of thing. You know, us whites are just as terrible as anybody else.
Yep. And I
We've got our
don't,
problems too.
yep. And hopefully, hopefully there's enough people of, whether it be more of one group or less of one group, as long as there's, the numbers I assume aren't going to be all even, but as long as there's
Yeah.
a good majority of people headed towards understanding and conversation, I think it's success in where society's headed, and that they're open to ideas.
Well, there's more to the internet than showing Kim Kardashian's backside.
Right. Right. A little bit.
Yeah, look at me. I want to go out and change the whole world, but unfortunately, I know it's popular.
But
The only thing I can say is the next time you see something about Kim Kardashian or somebody's wardrobe malfunction, whatever, don't click on it because the advertisers on these sites, on these news stories, they get the recording of how many clicks they got, but people see that these stories don't get any clicks on them, then they're going to stop doing these stories. It's as simple as that. People think the word boycott means you buy something just so you can talk against it. No, boycott means not buying it. And when I go through Yahoo News and see all these stories, I don't click on that stuff. The stories I click on are NASA lands a probe on an asteroid millions of miles away, or new species that was thought to be extinct found living somewhere. Now that's the stuff I click on. That's the interesting stuff.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you're paying with you're voting with your dollar more than anything else, or what
Or what you click.
you're your dollar. I mean,
Yeah, so plenty of websites listing stuff you shouldn't buy because of whatever politics of the company or whatever garbage they put into the food. Well, look on these websites and stop buying this stuff.
yeah, it's not. Stop looking
I
at
don't
it.
eat that much chocolate, but when I do want to buy chocolate, I look at the package, and if the chocolate is processed with alkali, I won't buy that product. Alkali is a chemical used when processing wood pulp into paper. And a news story that I heard on NPR years ago, one company in Florida, the runoff from that company went into this lake for decades, and they discovered that the reproductive organ of the male alligators that inhabit that lake over the decades suddenly got smaller because of the
Whoa.
alkali. Yeah. So if that's what it does to a wally gator, I ain't touching it.
Right. And I mean, there's in so many other countries, there's so much stuff that we can't.
In
like,
so many other
it's
countries,
banned.
they won't buy certain foods in America, made in America, because of the genetically modified organisms, GMOs,
Yeah.
and or hormone injected beef. These foreign countries will not buy these products from the United States, or they won't allow it into their country, and I don't blame them.
I don't
need
either.
this garbage poisoning the people's systems.
No, I mean, especially when it's not their country. Yeah, importing something
I
that's
was at a candy shop, and there's a special section that has Coca-Cola bottles from Mexico. Why? Because Coca-Cola made in Mexico uses sugar, whereas Coca-Cola made in the United States uses corn syrup or artificial sweeteners.
tastes a lot
And they banned
different.
saccharin years ago because it caused cancer.
Right. And I don't know why they haven't for a lot of this other stuff, all these other artificial sweeteners and vegetable oils and stuff of that nature. And
Some say because it's cheaper, others say because they got the politicians in the back pocket passing laws to allow them to do this stuff.
yeah, and it
So
makes
it's
people a lot
detrimental to
more,
people's health.
a lot more docile with pumping them full of stuff that's going to make you lethargic and,
Yeah. I wonder why
going to
all
the
these kids are
doctor.
born with all these problems like autism or whatever. It's because of the garbage you eat while pregnant with them.
Right. Yeah. It's just such readily available crap. It's just,
Yeah.
and it's not just even going back 50 years. It was a lot different. And then like all of the supplements that we have to take because they take like you go into any other country, they don't have supplements. They keep it's
They
right
don't
in
need
the
it.
food already.
Everything's done naturally.
Right.
I'm told in the 50s there were these pills going around that they're called fertility pills. Women were taking them, and then 30 years later, they all started having these health problems because they took the fertility pills. But what about the kids who were born from these fertility pills? What kind of health problems are they going to develop? My mother didn't take that kind of stuff. I mean, I was born in 1961. I'm so glad my mom had the common sense not to take that garbage, because she didn't develop these problems because she didn't take these pills. And I'm fairly healthy because the woman that was pregnant with me, my mom, didn't have this in her system. Therefore, it did not go into me. And that's why I don't have these problems. Look at me, 61 years of age. How do I look for 61?
Pretty
bad,
good.
right?
Yeah, pretty good. I wouldn't have guessed
I don't color
61.
my hair.
Yeah.
This is my natural color. And
It's-
still go to
yeah,
the gym 3 times a week, and I can still put a 100-pound barbell over my head. And I'm not some super weightlifter or whatever. I'm a skinny guy, but still do some things.
right. And yeah, you're watching what you do with your body.
Never smoked, never drank, and I never tried anything illegal.
So then, I mean, so when you're going to the bar, but you're drinking soda, you said, right? I think is what you said earlier.
Mixture of cranberry juice and orange juice.
No way. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I moved back in November, everywhere we stayed at I made sure there was continental breakfast. The first day they had cranberry juice and orange juice, and I started drinking that together. And why is that not a drink? There should be called something. Maybe we'll call it the Stewart, because that is, I think it's time. The world needs, it should be like a, winter drink or something. It seems nice and warm, and
The teetotaler.
I like it. Oh, there it is. So now there's a name for it. And yeah, orange juice and cranberry juice. It's quite the concoction. If now you have it. Now you know that. Now everyone knows it. And I hope that someone can make a healthy version of that drink to be able to pass around
Without artificial sweeteners, please.
without the artificial sweeteners. And we're going to have that. Maybe that's what needs to happen. We're putting this into the world right now. Somebody gets to make it, and it can be called a teetotaler. And
Yay! I saved the world! Yay!
they saved the world through orange juice and cranberry juice. That's how
I'm so
we
great.
did it.
I'm so great.
Yeah. Yeah. Geez. So there was that movie, or was it his family? It wasn't it was his family. Stewart saves his family, or the one that's what's his name? Al Franken, the SNL thing from like probably 30 years ago, I think. But I don't know. It's the world or his family, but you're saving the world now because you put that drink out into the universe, and I'm happy that someone else is drinking that drink. And so where can people throw you money to give you money for this drink to go and be able to also fund your ventures?
Okay. PayPal address is Stewart@Brodian.com, STEWART. My website, if you want to research me, is Brodian.com, BRODIAN. You can hear me Thursday afternoons or Saturday evenings on WDIY, WDIY.org. And yes, I still work as a Howard Stern impersonator, so I still work for anything from corporate functions to private parties. Or even out in Pennsylvania. Or no, I do travel. Or even just in email video greeting. I can do that too.
All right. I love it. Hey, thank you so much, Stewart. I really enjoyed getting to talk to you, pick your brain, and chit chat about not knowing what we are going to talk about to where we got to and what we got to learn about you and everything. And I think people are going to like
Well,
this.
I'm glad I was able to share some ideas with you and your audience, and I appreciate the opportunity very much.
Absolutely. And have a awesome rest of your day. And stay in touch, okay?
Thanks, you too. Take
All right,
care.
you bet.
Bye-bye.
You did. Bye. All right, Stewart Brodian. Man, I like talking to that guy. I probably would have talked longer. I started getting hungry. I don't want to get hangry on radio. So, and I have to make dinner. I should have made dinner earlier, and I can't open the window because we got the red death smoke coming in here. So I can't cook Indian food like I want to cook tonight. So I hope I can do that. So if I can pull that off now. But thank you everyone for listening here on the Quantum Global Broadcasting Network. Check out Stewart. Like, subscribe, share, hit the bell, do all the other stuff. Leave a comment and get a hold of Stewart. I guess is more the important part than this show. So thank you everyone for listening. And that is the show. Man, Stewart, sorry for the swearing. Boom.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Ernest! Ernest! Ernest!
Yes, Pee-wee.
You brought the snacks, right?